Hey there! Today we're going to talk about this ink. I got a sample from Tim. This is Diamine Pumpkin. Today, as you have noticed probably, the professor is not here. He had something in Cambridge. I don't know, a conference or a symposium or something. I'm not absolutely sure. Something does smell a bit fishy here, though. Well, anyway, Diamine Pumpkin. It's an interesting ink. As I said, I got a sample from Tim. I had seen this ink. I placed it in my shopping cart a couple of times, and every time, for some reason, I didn't actually go through the purchase. I'm going to buy a bottle of this. This is a very intense orange. I absolutely love it. So far, my favorite orange was probably Noodler's Dragon's Napalm, but I think this ink is just absolutely wonderful. Very nice. Don't expect a whole lot of shading, but it is intense. That's really the best way I can describe it. Intense and vibrant. So very, very interesting color. Sorry. There really is an odd smell here, like a bit like the sea, you know, a bit like well, anyway. So very interesting. I'm going to do the full writing sample, and I think the professor is probably back next week. Oh yeah, that's right. He better be back because, you know, he just left. I didn't know where he was going, so I'm just all alone now. Am I starting to hear things now? Well, whatever. I think it's time for a writing sample. That's what we're going to do next, and I hope this was useful. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we go with Diamine Pumpkin, boy. It's actually just called Pumpkin. It's not really called Pumpkin Boy. Let's start with some fine writing. Down in Texas, we got us some pumpkins. Not sure whether you knew that, but it's true, boy. Do Texans actually say boy all the time? I don't know. Stereotypes. Okay. Medium nib. Yes, a wet broad nib. Pumpkins. And finally, italic. And you know what? Let us do some flexi writing. Now that we're at it, we may as well go for it. Flex. Railroading. Isn't this the some football crew, the Texas Pumpkins? I think so. If not, they are now. I played quarterback for the Texas Pumpkins. Right. Okay. Then we should do a couple of passes. Just to describe what I'm seeing so far, some shading, but most definitely a very nice, intense orange. I like the color. Not just because orange is the national color of my country, but because it's really, really vibrant. I'm not sure how well the camera picks this up, but I think it's doing a pretty good job. This is a really intense orange. It's not, I mean, I did Gerbin Orange Indien at some point in the Inkcyclopedia, which is quite dark. This is really bright. Very, very bright color. I absolutely love it. Okay, well, maybe we should do a couple of tests. Let's start simple. Let's start with some fat writing. Everybody ready for some fat writing? The reason I was going slow there is that my pen is hitting a part of my tripod. Let me move the paper a bit. There we go. O for orange. Let me see if this is dry. Looks pretty dry to me, boy. Okay. 2 passes. Then maybe I should do some regular writing with a medium nib. Okay. This probably needs a bit of waiting time to actually dry. So what I'm going to do, because this probably dries pretty quickly, yeah, let's just give that a second or two more. So, look at the intensity of the color. Very, very nice. I'm really seriously considering getting a full bottle of this stuff, because it's just such a really nice, intense color. Okay, how are we doing? That looks dry to me. So I say it's time for that sad moment, the eyedropper of death. Didn't I always do the eyedropper of death on... I used the brush on that, didn't I? And I used the eyedropper on death on this. I'm getting confused. Yeah, I've been out for a while. I see Professor Tarquin Danglebury did the last 2 episodes of the Encyclopedia, and I'm sort of stuck. But that's okay. How dry is this? Not particularly dry. I'll just have to wait for a second there. I will just write down... Give me my pen. Here we go. This is eyedropper of death. And this is the bastard brush. So what I'm doing now is just waiting for that to dry. In the meanwhile, maybe it's a good idea if we engage in that very moment you've all been waiting for, the Tardif Test. Now, this is dry, yes. Here we go with the bastard brush. And let's take this opportunity to do a third pass here. There we go. So the question that arises is, what do we do with this? Because that was kind of meant for the eyedropper of death. You know what? Let's just do a second eyedropper of death. How about that? And we'll see what happens. Then I think we should get rid of some excess water. And probably want to do the same thing there, but I've just applied that. Maybe let's give that a few more seconds. Like this. There we go. Okay. So what can we deduce? Well, as you can see, the writing here, this was the eyedropper of death, is gone. The writing with the brush is pretty much gone, and this eyedropper of death has made this writing suffer too. So apparently this is not the most waterproof of inks. It's not marketed as such, so that's okay. We have the Tardif Test giving us a nice idea of the shading of this particular ink, which I really enjoy quite a bit. It's not I wouldn't call this the best shader in the world, but it does have some this very intense color, which I've mentioned a couple of times now, so I think that's pretty clear. Okay, well then finally we have the Brown benchmark, or something quite like that. Yes, I think that could have been more spectacular. The Brown benchmark. We got a lot of benchmarks. So there we go. Yeah. Okay. We got Brown benchmark in a lot of places now. I think we should start working on a scorecard for this ink, and then I will move to the copier paper. Okay, we have cleaning. I have cleaned one pen that had this ink in there, and it didn't seem to be a particular issue to get it out. That was good. Then we have bleed through. I have to judge that later. We have color. Well, what color would this be? Maybe orange? I'm not absolutely sure, it's difficult. Shading. Well, there is some shading going on, as you can see here, but it is not the most pronounced in the world, even though I like it a lot. So I will just say shading is okay. Then we have flow. Well, flow is very good. Had very little railroading or anything, so happy about that. Then we have feathering. Feathering, we have to check later on the other paper too. There is none here, but that's Rhodia. Then we have drying time, which I would say is good. It's not excessively wet or anything. And then we have waterproofness, which is in fact quite poor. Alright, let's switch papers. There was still a bit of brown benchmark right there. There we go. We just switch papers. I take this out. I love this artwork. And we start writing yet again. Fine. The brown benchmark is trademarked. The Inkcyclopedia is trademarked. In fact, B.R.E. Brown is trademarked. Now that we're mentioning it, I think hey there! It's trademarked too. Let's do a bit of flex writing. Yes, it's trademarked. It is now. How about a bit of fat writing? Fat writing is a trademark. And then maybe let's just go for a bit of extra flex writing to see whether we can make this ink feather. Alright. Well, sorry, I hit the tripod. Let's see what we can conclude from this. Color, still quite intense, even on this highly absorbent paper. I think it is, if anything, it looks like it's a little more shaded than it is on the Rhodia for some reason. At least that's my impression. I don't see any feathering. I don't see any feathering with this very fat writing. I don't see a whole lot of feathering in the flex writing, maybe a little bit there, but it all looks quite good, I would say. So, pretty nice. What about bleed through? Yep, flex writing has bleed through, fat writing has bleed through, the flexi writing there has bleed through, but the regular pens, regular writing, very, very little bleed through. So that looks good. What about the Rhodia paper? Well, we've already seen that there's no real feathering there, as is quite usual. We have a bleed through for the brown benchmarks, but that's normal. This is some fat writing, this is 3 passes, so all of that looks quite good. So I would say that if you use your pens normally, I mean you don't do any excessive flex writing or something, bleed through should be very good. And feathering should be very good too. Okay, what about a comparison ink? What ink can we compare this to? Well, one thing sprang to my mind. So what we have here is Diamine Pumpkin. An intense ink. And here we have in the Ahab, if it writes, does it write? Yeah, it writes. You got some ink by Noodlers. It's Dragon's Napalm. I love the smell of Dragon's Napalm in the morning. You see a difference? Because I don't. I mean, not really. I think maybe the pumpkin has slightly better shading, but this is, I mean, the pumpkin isn't an ink that has, you know, fantastic shading anyway. The Dragons, I forgot the apostrophe in the S. See that? Why didn't you tell me? Anyway, the Dragon's Napalm was my most intense orange until I got pumpkin, and I'm not sure whether pumpkin is more intense, but it's definitely reminiscent of the ink. So there you have it, Inkcyclopedia entry for Diamine Pumpkin. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye. Oh, by the way, I'll see you later is trademarked.